Hey everyone, welcome to the video. 031 has dropped and has been live for a good day and a half, 2 days now. Um, and I guess I wanted to sort of like just do a brief video sort of discussing and maybe getting some discussion going on like 031 and the changes that were made and what was good, what was bad, and what I think they could maybe revisit. So let's look at what they've actually done to begin with. So it used to be that if you wanted to use tablets like this, you would have to place them into a tower. So you'd have to go and complete a tower, place them into a tower. Depending on how many affixes your map had, you'd be able to get 1, 2, or 3 tablets placed in any one tower. The problem with this is it was often better to find a setup where you had 3 or 4 tower setups. That's where 3 or 4 towers overlap for maps to get as much juicing as possible. This ended up causing a meta where a lot of the time you were traveling to these tower setups, which felt really bad because it felt like you were wasting time, didn't feel like the game was respecting your time. And it seems like GGG have noticed that and noticed that actually they really think that the end game needed improvements. And this was one of the things that they thought they needed to improve. So the way that they've changed that is now every map that you go to, so if you have a map like this, depending on how many affixes the Waystone has, you'll unlock a number of slots here where you'll be able to place in different tablets. And this is by and large a really good change, and it's been really fun doing it. So why has this been good? Well, one of the reasons is it feels like every single map you do is as good as the last. There's no like juicing, giga juicing using towers. There's no setup required. You just log in and you just get to mapping, and that feels really good. I love that. I really do. Towers now have a very different use case as well, which is interesting and actually kind of useful. At first, I was sort of like surprised that they kept towers in. I was like, well, why don't you just remove them? But actually, one of the things that I guess I didn't think about was the fact that one, towers get to reveal the area, which is kind of useful. But a big thing that you can do is the tower, you can actually use the unique map that allows you to just go to a map without having completed the maps around it, as long as it's within tower range. So now towers have this kind of very useful thing where you can use those particular precursor tablets to grant you a little bit more agility around the map. So if you want to skip a whole bunch of stuff and go straight to citadels, it's now kind of maybe a strategy where you just move to a tower, use that particular tablet in order to be able to get to citadels faster, and maybe that's a really good way of working to get or a good focus in order to gain a load of currency quickly. So that's kind of generated a very different meta in how like towers are used, which is something I wasn't really thinking about. The other thing that they changed was the addition or the rarity of citadels. It's now much more common for you to see a citadel by about 66%, as they said in the patch notes. Originally, I thought this was going to tank or at least lower the cost of entry for Arbiter of Ash and Uber Arbiter of Ash, but at least with Uber Arbiter of Ash, it doesn't seem to have actually made a dent in the costs of the Calamity fragments. I guess we'll have to wait and see as to what this. It might be that just because we haven't gotten into a weekend yet, there hasn't been like a reflection in the price quite yet. But yeah, I was sort of surprised by that. I was kind of expecting there to be an actual effect on prices in the favor of the purchaser, but almost the opposite seems to have happened. It seems like actually prices have gone up, and that could just be due to inflation. I'm not really sure yet. Maybe we'll do an update after the weekend has finished. That being said, like having these much more common means that the demand is much higher. So the supply is higher, but the demand is still there, which means more people are indeed running Arbiter of Ash and Uber Arbiter of Ash, which should mean that we're going to get a lot more Prism of Belief diamonds come in and a load of other Arbiter of Ash stuff coming onto the market, maybe lowering prices, or at least if you want that +3 to Plasma Blast or whatever it is, you're going to be able to find it at a much more affordable price. Which, is good for the buyer, I guess. But largely overall for the experience of the player, what I'm hoping this means long term is more people will engage with things like Arbiter of Ash because the cost to entry will eventually be lower. And yeah, I guess we'll see whether that is actually the case or not later on down the line. The other change that they made was every single map actually has a boss in it. So when you see this is actually a powerful map boss. When we sort of like hover over this, it says more powerful map bosses and map bosses that are even more difficult and drop even better rewards. Powerful map bosses frequently drop waystones 1 tier higher. So I think it's a little bit early for me to say with any like definitive proof as to whether this is good or bad, because like I haven't really done hundreds of these maps yet. But I haven't actually noticed a measurable difference between powerful map bosses and non-powerful map bosses when I'm juicing maps. I can't, like, if you didn't show me which was a powerful map boss and which wasn't, I wouldn't be able to distinguish between the two, either from the difficulty or from the rewards. So I guess we'll wait and see, like, whether that's the case or whether I just haven't got enough sample size, whether the sample size is just too small to be able to make a determination on that yet. But I think the only positive that I've gotten out of this at the moment is just fun to have bosses on every single map, which is nice. One of the things that I think they did, which seems like a bit of an unforced error in my opinion, and I know there are other people with different opinions on this, is that now when you go into a map, what you used to find is all the rare monsters, and you used to be able to run off to the rare monsters and kill them pretty quickly, which was nice. You don't have that anymore, so they've removed the icons. Now, I don't know why they've done this. My guess, like my tinfoil hat guess, is maybe it had something to do with the increases in performance or something like that. But overall, what this has meant for me is I still want to take out those rare mobs because they still can potentially drop something good. And with the changes that they've made around like the content in the maps, it seems a bit weird to me that they wouldn't add, they wouldn't keep that in there, because when you're looking for rare mobs, or when you're going to the rare mobs, you often find things like Breach, you find things like the Expedition, rituals, the additional monoliths, Asmiri spirits, all that kind of stuff, right? Like on your way to going to the res, you find that. At the moment, you find eventually, either by accident or because you've killed enough things, you find the boss, and then you've got a choice. You either move on to the next map, or you go off and find the rare monsters and potentially the other map content as well. And it seems a bit weird to me. It seems like, for me, the better thing would have been to keep the rare monster icons in there so that those that choose to complete the map to the fullest extent can do that. Because I don't think there's any... It doesn't feel good to go searching and playing Where's Wally with rares. That's my opinion, anyway. I know there are people with other opinions on that as well. One of the reasons that I wish they would keep rare monsters on the minimap is because of the investment for a T15/T16 juiced map. So to get from either a magic or a normal waystone, we now have the option of either using a regal orb, so we could use augmentation, transmutation, then regal, or we could use an Orb of Alchemy. Now, an Orb of Alchemy now works on either a magic or a normal, so that's another change that they've made. And this is actually really cool. I love this. I love the fact that they've done this. It actually makes Orb of Alchemies useful. The other thing that Orb of Alchemies can do in a more broader sense is if you get a base, like, say, a Slipstrike base, or a Corsair base, or, just a good base, like one of these as an example, but the affixes are really bad, you can just slam an Orb of Alchemy on it to see if the re-roll, because it re-rolls all the affixes to see if you get lucky. And, for me, that's better than nothing. Anyway, back to the Waystones. So we put an Orb of Alchemy on it, and now we've got two choices. We can either slam two Exalted Orbs on it, Or we can slam one Exalted Orb on it, run the Omen of Chaotic Rarity, run Chaos Orb, then Desecrate, and then we could potentially Val Orb. I'm just going to go ahead and just do 2 Exalted Orbs, slam. So we've got 0 revives available. And then I'm going to go, right, okay. Monster pack size plus 33, item rarity 41, waste and drop chance 85. Not really what I'm interested in. I want to be a little bit more efficient, so I'm going to go for Omen of Chaotic Rarity, Chaos Orb on this as well. I've now got 114% item rarity and 90% waste and drop chance. And I'm still not done, right? So I don't know if I've got any, I haven't. So then I need to go and look for Delirium. So I want Guilt. So we want Guilt. We only need 3 of these, but again, normally we'd be doing this in a batch. So I normally do like 30 to 60 at a time. So now we want to Delirium this. Okay. So now we've got, well, we could also Val Orb it as well. If we Val Orb it, we have a number of outcomes. It could either change every single one of these affixes, or near enough all of them, and then we've kind of like lost the benefit of the chaotic omen, which feels really bad. It feels terrible. We could get T16 map, which would be great, right? That's what most people want. Or it could go down to T14, which feels super bad. So I generally, I need to do a little bit more like of like an in-depth review of this and like actually get better sample size. But at the moment I'm not really pushing for T16s, and I'm not sure, it's not clear to me whether I should be or shouldn't be at the moment. So I tend to keep it at this. But even this, even T15 like juiced in this way, costs you around about, I'd say 32 to 40x, more towards the 40x range. A day ago, the omens were going much, much higher. They were like at 40 to 50x per omen, and they've now kind of gone back to 18 exalted orbs. So what we're saying here is we're actually getting to a point where each one of our maps is the equivalent investment of around about 38, 40x, let's say something like that. So how does this relate to the rare monsters? Well, we're getting to that now. It gets to the point now where you really want to be doing those rare monsters. You don't want to just like surge through the map, kill the boss, and then move on to the next map, because you're not going to recoup enough. Like, the chances of you actually getting 50x in bare currency just by running straight to the boss or getting to the boss is not really there, right? And you're not meant to do that, right? You're really not meant to do that. That's not what they intend. They intend for you, I would guess, to go and find the map boss, and on your way find the rares, find the additional content. But it doesn't feel good to me. Like, for me, I just want to know where the rare monsters are. After I've killed enough of the rares through, going to each of the rares and eventually killing enough monsters, I find the boss. And through that experience, I will find things like Expedition Breach, Monoliths, etc., etc., right? All the additional content, I will just happen upon it with that information. So the fact that they removed it is like one of the big concerns that I have, or one of the big criticisms. I just don't think that they needed to do that, because it's just frustrating. I don't want to play Where's Wally with the rares, and I also feel obliged to find the rares in order to increase my chances of getting back my investment for this juiced waystone. And it's not just this waystone that I'm putting into this now. Each and every time I'm going to be putting 3 tablet usages in there. So this tablet isn't particularly great, but you can get like tablets that have got like max quantity, max rarity, and you can get 3 of those plus the juiced waystone. You are not going to want to just like avoid any of the rares. You want to do as many of those as possible, I would imagine. So overall, 031, great, really enjoying it, really liking the changes they've made in 030 to mapping. overall. So the changes that they made to waystones, the risk versus reward has changed. It's really good. But this one thing with the rare monsters just doesn't make much sense to me, and I hope they revert it. I really do. That's about it for this video. And if you've listened to this rant for long enough, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. I appreciate I've been a bit of a record gone wrong on this front, but I do think it's important that they look at like the change that they've made and like ask themselves why they've done that. And it'd be great if they'd be a little bit more transparent with us as to why they felt that they needed to do that. Anyway, that's it from me. If you've liked this, please obviously leave a like, maybe even a subscribe. But more importantly, if you've got another view, or if you have a question, or you want to start a discussion in the comments, then please do. That'd be great. If you want to talk to me directly, then twitch.tv/FatherExile. I stream Monday to Saturday, and I have my schedule published. So yeah, please drop by and ask any question you'd like. Thanks very much for watching the video. Do appreciate it. Hope to catch you in the next one.